This is the Goode Show. My name's Surinder and I'm a military spouse. I've been a military spouse for over 26 years and my guy served 30 years as a Navy SEAL and retired as a Command Master Chief. Now, I've heard a few stories and I've told a few stories and now I am sharing stories. Sit back, relax, grab a beer, grab a coffee and enjoy. Check us out on social media at The Goode Show. Welcome to this week's episode. My name's Surinder. I am your host, and this is The Goode Show. Just like the episode I aired 2 weeks ago, I have done very minimal prep apart from our Zoom call, Tiffaney. Tiffaney Florentine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is wonderful to meet you in person, especially after our Zoom call. I think that was one of the best Zoom calls. Sorry to everybody else, but that was one of the best Zoom calls that I think me and Kim have had with somebody on a Zoom call. It was very natural. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it felt really good. I'm a big fan of like energetically vibing with someone. And we vibed right out of the gate.
We sure did. Yeah. Now, I only heard about you in full transparency. Mm-hmm. Kim Brinkman kept coming to me and she was like, hey, listen, you got to follow Tiffaney. You got to see what this gal's doing on Instagram. And she was in the service. And so Kim, brought your name to me. And I have to say, your following has grown. You have, you've become really successful in your own right. Mm-hmm. And in a way, not a materialistic way, but as a conversation we had before. And some of the stuff that I've read about you, just knowing that your impact on people, isn't it crazy? Isn't that crazy, the impact you create on people? Do you ever think about that?
I do. I fly out of bed every single day because of the ripple effect. Yeah. I am very deliberate about the client that I work with. Mm-hmm. And I work with really high achieving women, like activists, authors, executives, entrepreneurs. And I fly out of bed every day because I know they are going to impact so many people through the work that we do.
That is good. I can't even imagine how that must feel like to know that you're talking to these, badass women. Yeah. And your words are having this effect and impact on them, But growing up, right? If we go way back to the beginning, growing up, you were in the military, you were in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, where were you born?
I was born in the Cleveland area. Okay. Kind of in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And would you like a little bit about my story? Yeah. So Cleveland, grew up there, very blue collar environment. Okay. Kind of a turbulent household. And at 18, 17, I didn't know I was supposed to go to college. And so I ended up working in a factory. Okay. I was just smoking and drinking with 40-year-olds. It was wild. And then, unfortunately, my dad got really sick. I wasn't living with him at the time. We weren't on great terms, but he called me and asked for a ride to chemo. Oh, wow. And at just the age of 18, I dropped everything. And I was going to college at the time and working in this factory. And I just moved in with him and took care of him. So this is a big part of my story, but I was with him for 7 months. It's the primary caregiver. Mm-hmm.
That's really difficult.
He was 46 years old, and I watched him just decline over the 7 months, and he passed away in my arms. So that was extremely difficult and the most beautiful experience I've ever been through, right? To be there in that moment and know that I was there and like to see someone pass into peace, right? And not be in pain. So that was extremely formative, and I was taking care of like the funeral, final expenses, all these things as I had just turned 19 when it happened. Yeah. And then 9/11 happened, and I'm driving home from the factory one day, and I was like, I guess I'll join the military. As many people do, we run from our trauma. Yes. And I posted a picture recently. You may have seen it, but I looked at my face, and I was just so... just like dead inside. I was just sprinting away from that like very traumatic event. Mm-hmm. So I joined the Air Force at 19, a few months after 9/11.
Why the Air Force?
Because I wanted to find the job and which like Air Force Marines, like figure out which of the armed services was the most hardcore for women. Okay. And I thought Marines, but then I realized Air Force didn't have ground troops. Okay, so probably the recruiters told me this is the most hardcore you could be as a woman, which was an MP in the Air Force because you're kind of like the ground troops for the Air Force. So that's why I chose them. And my stepdad was like, just don't join anything other than the Air Force. They have the most money, the shorter deployments. So that's what I did. Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy your time in the service?
I absolutely loved it. It was very formative. They ended up paying for school. I grew a ton. It opened up every door that I had to open up, like to the CIA and then to other jobs. And yeah, it was, I can't imagine where I would be without it.
I think that's, I love to hear that when service members say that. How long were you in the service?
I did 5 years total active.
Now, transitioning from the military back into civilian life, I always say it doesn't matter whether it's been a year, 4 years, 18 years, you know, there is a process that takes place. How was that process for you?
Do you ever transition? It's interesting. It's still such a big part of me. Yeah. It's like in my bones so much that when I go to the VA for healthcare now, I'm just like, here's my people. Or I went on an ayahuasca retreat in Peru and I just felt, it was all veterans, and I just felt like, this is my home. These are my people. I'm safe. So it's just this part of me that's just like in my blood now. I feel like I'm fully transitioned. I don't think you ever, I don't think you ever do. More tactically though, I would say you're a little bit lost right after, right? Like I didn't even know I had healthcare till 8 years after. Like nobody tells you these things. It was wild.
Well, so let me ask you, because now I hear a lot of people saying, you know, it's a lot of information, short amount of time. It's, you know, like water coming through a fire hose, and you're here today and you're gone tomorrow. And that's basically it. I mean, that's got to feel, I can only imagine that feels like, oh, wow, okay. Now what?
There's a loneliness to it, right? You have your people, and I was deployed to the desert a few times, and you know, you think you have lifelong friends, but like it's so transient. And so growing up, I've moved about 20 times in my life. Wow. So I guess it feels normal. Yeah. Like everything's always been transient. Yeah. Moving to me coincides with growth. And so it's just, there's this kind of like loneliness to it, transient nature. And I felt the same way getting out, like rebuilding from nothing.
So let's talk about what you have built since your separation from the military. And did any of your time in the service, do you feel that helped you build and create your business today? Yeah, the military experience was extremely formative. I mean, what other experience in your life where you just sign your name on a dotted line and you're like, take me anywhere, I'll go wherever and I'll serve this mission. So it was so formative because in an environment like that where you just sign and you're gone, you just learn how to trust yourself. Yeah. Like I just have this deep inherent trust between the experience with my father and then the military. I always say I trust myself to figure it out. Yeah. And so that like belief in yourself is really rare as women. Do you think that you were born with, because you're very strong, so do you think you were born strong? Because I know that there are some, you know, people that we've both come across, you know, where they've hit a hard patch and they just haven't been able to get out of it. I love this question. I'm like deep in studying this. And so I believe people that appear as strong, could we also say that this parallels high achieving? Yes, yes. Right? They go to school, they get the job, they climb. Yeah. And so high achieving people, I saw an article, don't quote me on this, from another influencer, I believe it was like in Inc. Mag or something, talking about like 75% of high achievers, like it's something around like broken. I'm going to put a pin in that. Let me come back to what I've learned is between the age of 6 and 10, we learn how we earn love. Yes. And so high achievers, most of the time, they're not getting the love and the attention and the approval that they deeply need as a human, which results in, I'm going to do all the things to get love. I'm going to get the good grades. I'm going to keep the peace in the house. Yeah. I'm going to play all the sports. I'm going to be a caregiver for my 2-year-old sister, and I'm 9 years old, things like this. And this is from working with clients and myself, but the high achievers are the ones that had to hustle for love between 6 and 10. Yeah. And so that very thing that like provides that like incessant hustle through their life and that like lack of fulfillment is the very thing that makes them strong and successful. So I think perhaps you're born with it. I know there obviously are many things you are born with from a talent perspective, but I really think it's a trait that you learn from not getting the love that you deserve between 6 and 10. You know, what's crazy about what you've just said is that, you know, I know people who are high achievers, you know, overachievers, you know, like somebody said to me, you're an overachiever. I said, I know I'm an overachiever. But to your point, I'm an overachiever because somewhere along the line, you know, somebody said something, you know, or something happened, you know what I mean? how do you know how to stop that overachieving? You know, how do you stop that? Because for me,
that's my work. I love it.
You know, because for me, it's kind of like part and parcel of who I am.
Yeah.
And part and parcel
Every
of
high achiever says that. It's just who I am. Yeah.
You know.
And so, yes, I know how to fix that. I've been studying this for the last 9 years and fixing it within myself. And after hitting a rock bottom, I was so broken that I started to figure these things out in myself. And so this is all of my work right now is teaching people to finally, I think what you're saying is feel at peace and fulfilled versus being in that incessant hustle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so the only way to break free from that hustle is to have that healthy love within yourself. And to do that, we have to go back to that pattern between 6 and 10 and break that and rewire it in the nervous system and from a mindset perspective. Thinking about it from a science perspective, imagine, let's use one of my clients, for example. There's so much sexual abuse, physical abuse, so many things I help clients work through, but I'm going to use something which is more tactical. So I had a client that she would wake up every morning and her dad would be outside of her bedroom window with the lawnmower. Just like mowing. And like if she wasn't helping, she was lazy. And if dad was giving her a stern look, she wasn't doing enough.
Yeah.
And so she learned to like read what was happening. And she never got the love. She was getting like reprimanded. You're being bad, be quieter, all these things. And so think of it like when you're in danger as a human from a nervous system perspective. She didn't fight her dad, right?
Yeah.
Fight or flight. She didn't fight him.
Yeah.
She didn't run away. She needed to stay there for like food and shelter.
Yeah.
But what happens is we get the freeze response stuck in our nervous system. It's where you're like, what should I do? There's a lawnmower. Am I not doing enough? Freeze response, this gets stored in your nervous system. Like this little kid, imagine a scared little kid. They're like this, right?
Yeah.
So the foot is on the gas, foot is on the brake. It's like this tsunami of energy, which is the freeze response, which gets stuck.
Yeah.
When it gets stuck, the byproduct is this incessant overthinking. I'm not enough. What should I be doing?
Yeah.
That's the very thing that makes us so damn successful.
That is yes.
And so to get rid of this, we have to go back and we have to rewrite the story about dad on the lawnmower, you being lazy. Now, we don't have to hash out verbally like all the sexual abuse and all these things and relive it.
Yeah.
What we need to do is go back to the feeling, release the feeling. We do that through somatic work and specifically releasing the freeze response from the nervous system.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, and this doesn't take long.
Yeah.
This takes like a couple hours over the course of a week or so.
Now, are you experienced in somatic breathing?
I'm experienced in somatic work, a lot of studying it and doing it myself.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because I've heard the words, don't know too much about it, but you just said it doesn't take long. Again, in the world today, the world we live in,
so
I
fast.
feel as though everybody's looking for a quick response to something, a quick fix it kind of thing,
Interesting you say that because people try to fix this in therapy, right?
Yeah.
And so I ran into a lady in the DMs the other day. This is real life in 2020. Ran into in the DMs. So anyhow, we're DMing and she's like, I've been struggling with codependency, which is, this hustle for love. Like this happened between 6 and 10. She said she's been struggling for 3 or 4 decades, basically since childhood. And she's trying to fix it, which when we think about fixing things like this, we think reading a book and we think going to therapy, correct? There are no quick fixes. There's no like, Ozempic for mental health, right? And so this woman said, I've been going to therapy, struggling for 30 to 40 years, going to therapy for 7, which if we do the math, if she's going 2 times a month, this woman has spent over $25K. And then she says, and I love my therapist and I'm going to be a lifer and I'm going to be working on this for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? That's standard. And I love therapy, right?
Yeah.
I love talk therapist, but we can't think our way out of the nervous system freeze response. And so it is actually a pretty quick fix in this case if you have the frameworks to bring the change to life, the tools to release the somatic energy, to release the freeze energy somatically, and then a container for someone to hear your story. I take women through it in 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in regards to freezing, unfreezing this energy, I know that somatic is one way, but you'd mentioned earlier on ayahuasca. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, at what point do you think somebody should go to ayahuasca? Is it how does it work? I guess because here, take a tablet if your head's sore. If it's still sore, take another tablet. There are steps there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But through this kind of healing, is there a first you do this, second you do that, or can you go straight to ayahuasca or to whatever you are drawn towards?
I can definitely talk more about the process. I'll put a pin in that. Thinking about ayahuasca, first of all, I'm not a plant medicine expert, so this is just speaking from personal experience.
Yeah.
For context for the listeners, people have heard of plant medicine, they probably think psilocybin. Psilocybin can be microdosing or a ceremonial dose. So for context with ayahuasca, they say that psilocybin is like wrestling with your little brother, and ayahuasca is like boxing with Mike Tyson.
Oh, okay.
So that's just context for you. When you think about, whenever I think of the first stage of connecting and releasing this energy and essentially responding to the world versus reacting versus being caught in that nervous system energy, the first step is always connection to self.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And we need tools to stay connected. We need tools to respond in everyday life. We need tools to release that energy. And now with ayahuasca, it is kind of like you're just getting catapulted out of your body.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
that's what I've heard.
So it's connection to yourself in a different way, like deep in the universe with my ayahuasca. It's like very spiritual.
Yeah.
The thing with ayahuasca is it's kind of like, and I mean this in the most respectful way, it's kind of like Ozempic for weight loss.
Yeah.
Meaning you're going to get a quick hit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of improvement, of progress, hopefully with both of those modalities. However, it doesn't teach you how to sustain it. It doesn't teach you the habits around it, to keep connection to self, to actually keep regulated. And so also you don't have any control. And so when I was doing ayahuasca, all this, like, I thought I was going to work on different things. Like, you can set intentions, but like the medicine takes you where you need to go. And there I was grieving my father's death.
See, that scares me, where you don't have control.
None.
And so, you know, when my girlfriend...
That's the fun.
Well, see, when my girlfriend was talking about it, I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, what, you got no control?
None.
And she's like, no, you just go wherever it takes you. I'm like, what if you go somewhere you don't want to go? She said, well, you've gone.
Good point. Yeah, and that's why you have to have preparation. And so I would never recommend ayahuasca recreationally. I would never recommend ayahuasca without preparation.
Yeah.
A sacred space with healers and people you trust. And then in addition to that, you need integration. You need those three parts.
Yeah.
And so I went with Heroic Hearts. So veterans listening, also they work with veteran spouses. Heroic Hearts is a nonprofit org that actually sends you to these retreats, often fund most of it, sometimes half. But they are just a beautiful organization that's with you on your healing journey. And like, they have like healers, they have coaches, and they prepare you. This is beautiful sacred space. They take care of you afterwards. And so I was very fortunate to experience 2 of their retreats, and I absolutely love them and speak very highly of it.
I love that. I mean, you can't do something like this without some kind of support. That would, I mean, you'd just be crazy, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about... Right. Well, first of all, before I forget, I do want to talk about your gladiator experience because, again, you know, as I was doing my due diligence, it's one of these things you don't like to talk about, you know. But and I wish I'd asked you to bring in a picture today, because can't you imagine her in the gladiator outfit?
Oh, they're on the gram.
I saw it.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna
there's
check
footage
that out.
too, and it's the tiniest little blue spandex suit.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's really funny.
But what a great experience, you know. Do you stay in touch with anybody from any of the team, or?
I do stay in touch with a few people. Yeah, just like little chit chat here and there online, and I visited a few of them after the show.
Now, I read that after your appearance there, people started viewing you as an expert in food, health, you know, that arena. And you are a yoga expert, is that correct?
I like yoga. I wouldn't say quite an expert.
Okay, can you make it through the class? I always think everybody that makes it, hey, you're an expert.
Fair enough. I can't make it through a class.
You know, so it was after that experience, did people just start reaching out to you and just organically start asking you, you know, questions about health and fitness?
Yeah, I was working for Deloitte Consulting at the time, like 80, 90 hours a week. And I came back from that experience in this like post-gladiator depression. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Because it was so fun and I'm working my life away. And so when I came back, as the shows were airing, people were just coming up to me and like, oh my God, how did you get so fit? How did you do this? Or talk to me in the gym. And I felt like I was a potato because I was working that much and just sitting sedentary for so long. And relatively speaking to other people in that position, I was doing all right.
Yeah.
But what I really loved about that experience was people wanted my advice, and I was like, this feels really good. Like, I want to share this knowledge and I want to influence people. And so that was a catalyst to just apply to the MBA program, full-time MBA at Ohio State. And I just left a couple months later. I was like, I'm a veteran and I'm a woman. I can bomb the GMAT. Let's go. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So it was the catalyst to get closer to health and wellness and to really switch industries and just to get closer to my passion.
And now I always tell people that health, and, you know, fitness has a correlation directly with your mental health. What do you say to clients that you've come across that, because I know people that, you know, they work out, but I don't see any change in their mental state of mind. Maybe I don't see any change in their physique, to be honest with you. And I think that it's got to be more than that. So how do you help clients see and understand that there's a bigger picture? It's not just the Ozempic, do you know what I mean?
Well, what do you think is the outcome that they're seeking? That's where I always start, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes, and I think for myself as well, a million moons ago, when I first moved here, I mean, I didn't know anybody, and that set me off into a certain, like, lonely, you know, surrender no friends kind of state, and and I put on some beef.
Yeah.
And much to my husband's chagrin, you know, and it just, I think I was kidding myself on. I was kidding myself on, because, you know, I'd walk to the base kind of thing, and that was my exercise. So I think there was some kind of, for every optics, it was the optics. I was just fulfilling the optics so people could say, okay, well, she went for a run or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
So the shoulds. I should work out, so I'm doing something.
Yes, yeah. You know, but how, you know, you got to get people beyond that.
Yeah, and what I focus on, this is actually deeply integrated into my work, because when we think about habits, everyone thinks they should be doing something. I should be eating like this. I should be moving my body this much. And I love using fitness and nutrition as vehicles for self-inquiry and to build self-trust. And so that's really what people need, is self-trust and self-inquiry, meaning like, what feels good for me? Yeah. Right? And self-trust, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And if we continue self-inquiry around what feels good and self-trust, like, you will naturally optimize your mind and body. It will just happen over time.
Now, please. Sorry, let me just ask you, do you, with clients, are you always one-on-one with clients? Is that how you operate?
I am one-on-one right now, but I'm working on launching a group program.
Okay.
Like small, intimate, like 4 to 6 women.
Okay. Because you've also got a free masterclass online, haven't you? Talk to us about that, because I discovered that and I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to do this, especially because it's free. Yeah. You know? Absolutely. So what made you... Well, first of all, not charge for it, because every other masterclass that, you know, I've done 9 times out of 10, you put masterclass there, you got to pay something for it, you know. But talk to me about how you came up with that and the questions that are in it for the people to do some searching, inner searching.
Yeah, with the masterclass, the intention is truly to show people the full process of how to heal unhealthy patterns. And so the woman I work with is 40 to 50 years old typically, and she's really in pain because there are unhealthy patterns in her life that are holding her back with relationships and at work. And so these unhealthy patterns, meaning the hustle for love, that was formed between 6 and 10, and it plays out like never feeling like you're enough, so like overworking, most predominantly high achieving women settling in relationships. That's the biggest one, because we're high achieving at work. We do all the things that bodes well. We climb, we earn more money, we earn the promotion. But in relationships, when we're wired to hustle for love, we attract emotionally unavailable partners. Wow. Okay. And we are in relationships where our needs aren't met. That is like my primary customer. We break that pattern. Wow. You know something, now that you've said that, I'm not like that at all, but I do know a couple of friends. Now, I guess when I look at them from the outside and just thinking about what you said, you know, I'm thinking, wow, okay. But I never thought of it like that. That's so... It's very hush-hush. Like when we were... And this was me, right? I'm powerhouse running a company. I have a badass gym model that I'm looking to scale in Chicago. And at the same time, my wife had cheated, and then I was swiping too fast on the Hinge machine. I matched with somebody quickly who still lived with her ex. My wife, when I met her, had a partner. Like, my dad was drunk, and he wasn't there, right? And so I kept recreating that wound of hustling for people that weren't available. And so here I was creating this badass company.
Yeah.
And I'm hustling for scraps in a relationship. It was embarrassing. Like the stuff was happening. Like the way I was getting treated was so bad, and I knew it. That's the biggest problem. You know you're getting treated like shit, but you can't stop it. Remember, the freeze energy is overthinking. I can fix this. If I do this, maybe she'll get better.
Yeah.
And that's the pattern you're perpetuating. And so high achieving women, it's very, very frequent that they are settling in relationships because they're used to the hustle and they don't want to tell anyone about it. It's like a dirty little secret. You look amazing from the outside, but you're settling for this.
How did you break your cycle?
8 years full time and $45,000 working on myself while my other business was running itself. I was very fortunate. I hit my rock bottom. So when trauma stacks, right, I have that freeze energy. My dad dying, getting chased in the military for being gay, almost kicked out, a divorce, like all of these stack and stack and stack. And so when I saw my wife cheating, I lost my best friend, my business partner. Yeah. Right? I lost everything at that point, and the trauma stacked. My nervous system couldn't handle it. And so I was on the floor in pure anguish. And anguish is a strong emotion. Yeah. Like you can visualize it. Bawling my eyes out. I felt so sick. I cried for months. I didn't know what to do. And all I had was fucking therapy. Like, we're going to talk about it once a week. And I can't function. P.S. I'm going to work every day in the gym that I call a love bubble, which is attached to the place where my ex-wife is going with that person. And so here I am running this super mission-focused organization with people that are off the streets, out of prison, like serving this like population that needs this stuff. And I'm broken with these first world problems in my mind. And so the reason I fixed it and the reason I was so focused on doing anything I could is because I had this huge mission, right? I was so broken. And so I was very lucky that my employees were running the show. I had enough money coming in that I could go on my Eat, Pray, Love era. Went to Bali for a month by myself. I did every sort of mind and body thing you can possibly do under the sun, like therapy, thousands of hours of podcasting, self-help books, like seeing coaches, like all of the things. And so that's my work, is stitching together a system to where women can do this in 12 weeks. And the unlock, which I found after about 5 years, was what I shared with you around freeze nervous system energy. That's it. When we release that, like there are tactics like TRE, shaking meditation. Once you release that, your brain comes back online. You know how in therapy, you talk to a friend that's chasing after emotionally unavailable guy, and she won't shut up. She won't shut up, and you're like, "This is terrible," and she's like, "I know," and she won't shut up for like years. It's because that energy's stuck. So when you get that out of there, when I get that out for my clients, I can finally talk to them. It's useless to talk to them before that.
You know, with it being explained in that way where it's frozen visually, for me, I get a better, now I get it. Without it there, you can breathe.
Yeah. Can I share it in a different way too?
Yeah.
I'm glad you get that visual. A better visual that works for me is the tiger. Or we can think about a dog shaking. I talk about this all the time. When a dog sees another dog and the dog goes away, what do they do immediately?
They shake?
They shake.
Yeah.
They release it. Humans go, they freeze.
Yes.
We don't shake.
Yeah.
So it's in there and it's in there and it's in there. Once you shake, literally the TRE work, it's trauma release exercise. You shake like a dog. You get a tremor going in your body.
That makes total sense to me.
It's so cool.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tiffaney Florentine. I go by Tiff. I am a fulfillment expert, and I work specifically with women in their 40s, and I help them break unhealthy patterns that are holding them back in their careers as well as in relationships. Essentially, I help them stop hustling for love, approval, and acceptance. And if you want to learn more about me, I would go on over to my Instagram. Feel free to check out my profile, the content, and just slide into my DMs. I would love to connect with you.
Okay, it's good to have you back. Now, Tiffaney, before the break, we were talking about the program.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, let everybody know what website they can go to register for this free masterclass. Because although when you look at it, when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, so what kind of class have I got to go through? You know, because I was just a little cautious. But it makes sense to go through this, to be able to, as you're going through it and as you're typing things, you've got to read them. And I always think once you read back what you're typing, it kind of like opens you up a little bit more to receive, you know. So where can people go to sign up for the masterclass?
Yeah, the masterclass, you can find that on my Instagram in the bio. And my name is Tiffaney Florentine. It's Tifffaney. Very creative spelling. But yeah, that'll be linked in my bio. And if you have any questions, just slide into the DMs. And when it comes to the masterclass, it's literally just a walkthrough of the process to heal those unhealthy patterns, like the hustle for love, you know, sorts of people pleasing, those sorts of things. So it's good to know, like, especially if you've been in therapy and working on these things, exactly what you need. And I actually call it the fulfillment methodology. And I've had my people rate them 1 to 10. Like the method is like connection to self, healthy habits, healing past triggers. And so they actually quantify it. I can't sell something and I can't guarantee results. Well, so they measure it 1 to 10, and I actually guarantee you're over a 40 out of 50 when they're done, or I stay with you. So it's really cool.
See, and again, going back to our original conversation, like this seems to be like, okay, you do this, then you do this, then you do that. Because even though I've said to people, okay, just Google that sucker, there's so much shit out there, you know. And to our point, the little brief conversation we had during the break, why hasn't this already been out there? You know, why don't more spouses, more veterans, just more humans know about, just before you pop a pill, you know, look at your mental health, you know, especially with women, because we take things on, and like you said, especially for military spouses, and I think a lot of military spouses are going to agree with this. You don't want an argument before your service member goes on deployment, so you don't say anything. They're coming back from deployment, and while they've been away, inherently with most men, you know, you're away, nothing's happened, you've forgotten about it, it's done. You know, it's done. And then you come back, and for the partner at home, maybe it wasn't done. There was no closure. But you don't want an argument because they've just come back. So now once again, you put it under that rug. And at some point, you're going to trip over the rug. You know,
it becomes too much. And that started between 6 and 10, right? Pushing down our voice, not having a voice. And so over time, it builds and it builds and it builds, for sure. And so we can only handle so much of that. But that's the pattern, is keeping the peace. Like we learned, it's very scary to speak our truth and to say what we need, because we think that person will go away. And really, we can titrate that slowly, but it is a very scary process. And that's why I do work with a lot of single women that are sick of things falling apart. Because it's very different to do it in a relationship. It can be done. I do work with married women too, but it's learning to speak your truth. And that's how, the thing is, I trust a woman. When I say speaking truth, I mean a woman that is okay saying no. I don't think we celebrate that enough. Like, women don't know how to say no. And I don't think we celebrate it enough. But for me, when a woman tells me no, or when anyone tells me no, that means I can trust them. That means I can trust their yes.
I like your perspective on that. Yes, I've never looked at it like that before. A no is almost final, scares people.
Or even just preferences. Like, I don't want to eat that for dinner. Like, that's literally how we start. And that's why I use fitness and nutrition as vehicles. Because what we're talking about is essentially being... most women I start working with, and most humans, they are stuck in their head 70 to 80% of the time. And so if I'm in my head 70, 80% of the time, I'm most likely in the hamster wheel of life, and I'm not putting my own needs first. So step one is connection to myself. Like, I can't be in truth in a relationship and be happy if I'm chasing squirrels. I say squirrel chasing, right? Which is just thoughts zipping around. So I have to wrangle the squirrels. I have to come back to myself. I'm not talking about meditation. There are a million ways to connect to yourself. But essentially, I need to do that. Then I have to figure out what I need, want, desire, and then speak my truth. Right? And so when it comes to what I want and need, we start with just putting your habits first so that they can titrate slowly. Like, oh, I'm drinking 5 ounces of water today. That doesn't feel good. And I'm like, well, we don't need to jump to 80. How about 8?
Yes.
And then and you'd rather have 8 ounces of water than 80 or versus 5. And so it's like a method and it's a pathway, but it's all your preferences. Like, you're the guide.
But being the guide, I got this last question for you. Do you find that with the women that you are talking to, what is the age group? You said it's 40 to 50.
Yes, it can span a little wider, but typically.
do you find that, I know I'm one of these women in my 50s that just because of my age, you know, again, childhood, I want to experience, say, for shits and giggles, I want to go on that ayahuasca. But I'm scared shitless of going on it. And then there is a part of me that just thinks, hey, man, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. Let's rock and roll forward, you know. And I don't think I've got anything that crazy that I need the ayahuasca.
Yeah.
But I think I've known a couple of people that have done it, and I'm a little bit like, well, maybe should I? And, you know, just to experience it.
So do you want perspective on how to know whether you should go?
Well, do you find that women, okay, let me ask you, do you find that your more mature women are maybe a little less reluctant just because, hey, they're a little bit older, a little bit more set in their ways? Could these different kind of modalities be like new and fandangled? You know?
I've never recommended it to a client.
Okay. No, but any of them, any modality of, say, going to...
plant medicine?
Yeah. You know, natural healing of any kind, you know, safe natural healing. I tend to find that people are so programmed to take a pill that to try and tell people, okay, don't pop the pill, think about this, that they're just not conditioned that way. You know, so, but I find that the older group, like, let's talk about veterans. Let me talk about my husband for a minute. I love you. Just always remember that. You know, 30 years as a SEAL, retired as a CMC.
That's incredible.
And he didn't really go through much of a VA program. He's a old, salty frogman. You know what I mean? So these new modalities of let's try this or let's try that, he's quite resistant to because, I'm good. Do you know what I mean? So I tend to find that an older age group are a little bit more resistant to natural alternative methodologies. I think women are much more open.
I think that there's extreme openness at any age level if there's enough pain.
Oh.
If you're in a lot of pain, you'll do anything. And so the people I was on the retreat with, like, there's a lot of pain. Like, they can't sleep at night. They're replaying those bombings. Like, one of my friends, like, she was an EOD officer. She sent her troops out to a mission, and 6 of them were dead, and she survived. She replays that all day, every day, right? And so if there's enough pain, you will do these things. Now, for me, I'm just on the self-actualization journey. There's still things to work through. And so I went because I'm a daredevil. And I'm like, I want to keep experiencing these things for myself and to serve my people. But if there's enough pain, you will go. And another thing to think about too, just simply put, like, when we think about my stress level every day, like angst in the nervous system, like angst on the chest or overthinking, like 1 to 10 scale, I used to be at like an 8 most days, just working corporate, like, is my boss going to email? Just like this angst all the time. It was like that incessant feeling when you're going to get pulled over by a cop, like you're doing something wrong. It's that all day, every day. And the squirrels were just rampant, right? And so when I did the work on myself, the more I did the work, like regulating my nervous system every day, discovering TRE, ayahuasca, now I wake up at like a 2 or a 3.
Wow.
Right? And so if there's pain and a really dysregulated nervous system, I think they're more susceptible to go, or just like complete detachment, like complete numbing, like they can't connect with their family. There's got to be a ton of pain. Now, if you're like cool as a cucumber, like at a 2 or a 3, or like we'll say 4 or 5, like the norm in society, or like 6 is probably the norm, right? Or 7. If you think you're normal and you think you're fine, like I could see not wanting to go. They do say, like, when there is a lot of pain too, like once you hear about ayahuasca, it's like normally 2-3 years before you go for the seed planted.
I don't know if I'll ever go, but what I do know is that you are definitely one of the strongest women that I've met. Really, truly.
Thank you.
I mean, I wish we had more time to discuss, your journey in detail. But I'm completely in awe of how you have really just, hey, it's the path I'm going. This is what I'm doing, and ignoring the white noise. I'm just moving forward. I love that. Tiffaney, it has been great having you on the show today. It really, truly has. I feel like I've been in a bit of a counselling session, don't you, Kim? Brian, I think you might just need to go to counselling session,
Oh, my God.
But it's been great having you on the show. Tell everybody your Instagram and how they can get in touch with you.
It's Tiffaney.Florentine, and it's Tifffaney. You get in touch with me over Instagram. I do have that same website, same domain, without the dot. You'll find me. I mean, just Google me. You'll find me.
Listen, I have to say, I feel incredibly relaxed. I feel like I might take a little nap after this, to be honest with you, you know. I do. Yeah, because you've got that kind of voice as well, where you're very just, you know, just very, very soothing. Okay, let me say my outro before I just doze off. Okay, it's been great having Tiffaney on the show today. My name's Surinder. I have been your host. This has been The Goode Show, and I'm out. Thanks for tuning in to The Goode Show. I hope you have been inspired by today's conversation. If you loved what you heard, help us spread the word. Follow me on Instagram @The Goode Show. As military spouses, we all have stories to share, experiences, resources, and support. I want to hear your story and highlight your business. Let's connect, DM me, or visit surindergoode.com to share your journey. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and keep doing good things.